Thank you, Bob the Beast Sapp. Welcome to the Word on the Street podcast. Coming at you on a new day, Thursdays instead of Tuesdays. Tuesday is now the time slot reserved for our producer's podcast, the most mainstream MMA podcast of all time. In fact, the name is the MMA Podcast. I'll get right to him. He is none other than the host, creator, founder of the MMA Podcast, and he's producing this show, making it live, making it all happen. He's a good friend. He is Jake from the MMA Podcast. What do you hear? What do you say?
'Cause that's the bottom line.
That's right. Follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. A couple days ago, we had Wayne Barrett on, who's going to be fighting in a couple of weeks at Glory 18. It was fun talking to him. We broke down this upcoming card, UFC 179, Aldo vs. Mendez 2. Follow us at the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com. Click the links at the top for the iTunes and the YouTube subscription. Ramses, it is an honor for you to have me on. It is an honor for me.
Definitely.
For you,
and
definitely.
I just want to explain a little bit. We shuffled around our show dates because basically there was the debut of the greatest, newest sports podcast, MMA
That's
podcast
right.
of all time, definitely. The Chael Sonnen podcast. He started it up 2 weeks ago. So, and he's coming out every Wednesday with it, people. Wednesdays, that's Chael Day, all right? It ain't UFC Tonight anymore. That got scrapped. All right. It is the Chael Sonnen podcast titled You're Welcome.
It is funny
Available.
how Chael is doing it Wednesday, sort of the same day that UFC Tonight is, maybe trying to get a few views over from them.
Yeah, well, he is counter-programming. He has every right to do so. This is free country. And
That's
they did drop his ass. But so he's on Wednesdays. So we're like, well, shit, we can't do our podcast on a Wednesday then. So we did some shuffling around. Orden Street's on Tuesdays. Or sorry,
False.
the MMA podcast is on Tuesdays. Orden Street
go.
moves to Thursdays, which we're doing right now. This is the first Thursday episode. Took a couple weeks off. I'm sorry, people. I've had a little bit of bouts with injuries, but otherwise known as health issues.
You stormed
It's all
one
the
too
same.
many dojos.
It's all the same. Your body ain't working the way it's supposed to. It happens. But yeah, I've been out. Honestly, it's hard times. You get stressed out. The real world starts calling at you, poking at you, and then all of a sudden, you have an ulcer. And guess what? The stress just builds on that. It's disgusting. It's sick. But anyway, here I am. Good right now, feeling okay. Everything fine. Jake, how have you been doing recently up there in the Denver area where the sweet green medicine is available to you at all times and legal? What's happening there? What's the news lately? What's the word on the MMA podcast before we delve into the latest UFC topics?
The word on the MMA Podcast, your boy went to the dispensary today, got an eighth of some Super Lemon Haze, a gram of this stuff called Jedi Kush. Smoked a bong hit of the Jedi Kush right before the show. Thank God this mic has a mute button because I was coughing my face off. But I am doing very well. Hope, we're planning on being on Media Row at Glory 18. One of the main superstars on that card, Wayne Barrett. We spoke to him a couple days ago on the MMA Podcast. What else did we talk about? We broke down UFC 179, the main and co-main event, Aldo Mendez 2, Davis versus Glover. We talked a little bit about this Cain Velasquez shit, which is, probably the biggest news of the week. Cain bowing out against the fight in Mexico City. In steps Mark Hunt. All this craziness. I'm just living my life one day at a time. I'm doing this, studying for the LSAT. I'm Ubering. I'm working as a Uber driver. If you haven't been listening for a while, and my second job, I'm going door to door, knocking, canvassing for a political party. But you know what? I'm not going to share what party because it's not important. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to talk some MMA, cocksucker.
Awesome. Thanks for the update, man. And I'm trying to figure out this damn Skype thing here. Like, our good old friend Davey Spears just tried to call in, but it's telling me if I accept his call, this one will be put on hold. I used to have an option to where I could just add him to the group.
It
It's
does
not
look like
available
we have
for
a
some
third.
damn reason.
It does look like we have a third member though.
Do we? Oh, is Alan? Alan, are you there? Hello, Eagle, come in. This guy. It's always the problem with him, man. Yeah, so I guess we don't have the third guy, man, and
Said he
I
was
don't
on the
know how
call.
to.
Weird.
I don't know how to add. Well, yeah, it shows him on. You're muted if you're trying to talk, Eagle. But yeah, the Skype thing. You should just let me add people to the group chat. I don't see that option. It's telling me if you even try to call Davey Spears, you're going to be put on hold with whoever you're on with. What is this bullshit?
He don't give a fuck.
So, sorry, Dave. I'll try to work on it here. I don't know what's going on, honestly.
I have no
But
fucking
yeah.
idea.
Sorry, people. Let's move on to the MMA topics. You brought it up. Cain Velasquez being out of the Mexico card. Title fight's off. It's being reshuffled. Now it's going to be Mark Hunt versus Werdum, which
First
is
one
just,
to break it.
yeah, it's ridiculous, man. These days, the information hits you first. You got to go with it. But it's happening.
Ramses. Yeah, you were the first one to break it on Twitter. You really did have the word on the street there.
Well, I will give a little credit to my newest partner in crime, and I can't really speak too much about our relationship, the agreement that we've come to. But Super Callow on Twitter, follow him. Sometimes he comes through with a little bit of info. I don't know how he does it, man. I do see Dave trying to call back in, but he's telling me if you answer this call, your actual call will be put on hold. So I don't know how to add you to the. I don't know what's going on, dude. I don't know.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kahlo knows so many people from the Brazilian favelas, training in the U.S., Mexico. Kahlo, man, I don't know anyone, maybe with the exception of FRB, who has more contacts in MMA than that guy.
He's totally solid. And shout out to the man. But yeah, basically the Mexico card kind of falling apart a little bit here. Cain's gone. That was devastating. The UFC spent years building up to a Cain event in Mexico for a title fight to launch it all. And now this happens. And that's how you know he must have fucked himself up real bad. Because usually they'll throw everything at you to try to get you to keep fighting. They'll throw all kinds of money for you to show up even hurt, just as long as you show up, as long as the event goes on, as long as you don't cost them millions of dollars, they'll pay you a chunk of that. So this guy Cain must be seriously injured, fucked up. He's had problems with his shoulders, his knees. Now it's like he came into his prime and like hit his peak, but it was a peak. Like, it was that brief. It was instant. And now we're seeing, apparently, by all indications now, Cain on the decline. He's not fighting that often. He's not defending his title. And let's face it.
Since he beat Brock, he's only fought two different people, Junior and Bigfoot.
Yeah, so the UFC is reading, they see the writing on the wall. He has effectively been stripped of his title. I mean, he's not going to be champion after this fight's done. He's done. He's not the champion anymore, by all intents and purposes.
Dude, he's definitely the best heavyweight in the UFC. Like, who is going to beat him? Like, he's going to come back in 2015 and take it back. Like, I really don't see anyone in that weight class beating Cain.
The thing is, you're saying, he's going to come back. It's just why are they stripping him, though? That's like a good indicator.
Because he hasn't fought in a while.
the organization doesn't have any belief in the man that was supposed to like be the flagship of UFC Mexico. Like, excuse me, people. That's a pretty damn big deal. It's a big loss, and they're abandoning ship. They're cutting ties. I mean, it's an interim title fight. That is not good news. It tells you. I mean, shit. They didn't even do that to GSP when he was pulling his shit. I'm injured, my knee, I can't come back. He was pulling that shit before he finally retired.
Yeah, they did. Last fight. They gave Carlos Condit the interim title.
No, that was like a few years ago, though. Like I'm talking the last time he retired. How many times has GSP gone away?
Once.
It's ridiculous. Oh, by the way,
there he is, the Eagle.
Oh, hey, what's up, Eagle? Welcome to the show. I was just gonna say, speaking of, GSP is rumored to be the next guest on the Chael Sonnen podcast. But before we get to Chael's podcast, yeah, what's the deal? Diego Sanchez now. Joe Lozon, of course, got injured, pulled out of the UFC Mexico fight. So we're all like, oh man, who's gonna go up against Diego Sanchez now? Turns out that Mexican got injured. It's all falling apart. Cain Velasquez, Diego Sanchez off the UFC Mexico debut card.
For real.
The pay-per-view is taking some fucking hits, man.
They're two the
Mexicans
big
are
stars.
Disgusted. Yep, these were the top Mexicans in the biz. What do you guys think? Jake and then Alan.
Yeah, it's funny. I read the presser of Cain being out and Diego being out and the UFC offering refunds, and I do think the UFC will probably catch on in Mexico just because boxing is, really big there, and they're really big into combat and all of that. But yeah, this was their giant show, and it's a giant blow for them that Cain and Diego, the two fighters that a lot of folks were gonna go there to see, are out of it. God, this has been a horrible year. The UFC has been hit so hard by the injury bug. Any champion over featherweight, which the classical 5 weight classes: featherweight, welterweight, middleweight, light, heavy, and heavy. All these champions have been plagued. Pettis has been out since he beat Bendo. Johnny is doing, this arm surgery. He hasn't fought in a long time. Weidman was going to fight Belfort, but the fight got postponed. Jones was going to fight Cormier, but the fight got postponed. Cain was going to fight Werdum, but the fight got postponed. This is either horrible luck or sort of like you inferred a couple days ago on my show, Ramses. Maybe because of this UFC health insurance thing, a lot of fighters, when they hit that championship status, know that as long as they're there, that's very marketable. They can make a lot of money. And all these nagging injuries, a la John Jones' ankle, a shoulder, a knee, whatever it is, you can get it worked on and know you're still the champion and be able to come back. I don't know what it is, but
smart business. That's absolutely right. Yep.
So much inactivity from the champions in the higher 5 weight classes. It's insane.
Yep, definitely. And Alan, we'll go to you, but I just figured it out while I was thinking about it. The reason Davey Spears, anybody else out there, the reason I wasn't able to add you is because Jake from the MMA Podcast is hosting the call. Call him, Davey. We'll add you and get you on here. No problem. I believe that was the issue. Alan, the UFC Mexico card seemingly falling apart. The biggest names pulling out sick, injured. Diego, what was his? I don't even remember what his excuse was, but Lozon pulls out first. I thought they were going to try to, just shove Eddie Alvarez's broken, bruised ass back in the cage. Didn't happen. McGregor's going to be there. And yeah, what is the deal with the McGregor being on embedded for a card that he's not even on? He's there. He's going to be at the event. Obviously, he's going to call somebody out. This all reeks of something staged. It reeks of a Bellator type setup, a la Tito Ortiz and the Masked Man Justin McCauley. But Alan, what do you think about UFC Mexico becoming all of a sudden a lump of shit, seemingly?
There's nothing really to say about it. It's falling apart. Kelvin Gastelum and whoever he's fighting is the main event. We're going to go ahead and just give the belt to Mark Hunt, Dana White's worst nightmare. I mean, at least Roy Nelson didn't win back in September, and this set up a Roy Nelson versus Werdum fight, which would have probably made Dana White blow his brains out. But yeah, the injury bug's crazy, man. This year it's been just off the wall. People getting injured, and like Jake said, with all the champions, man, it's like they're not champions because they're not taking on any and all comers. They're fighting like handpicked opponents when they feel like it, or when they're, not at 95% or less. Only when they're 100% will they fight. So it just, it's just kind of crazy that in today's day and age that, I mean, I'm not saying these fighters' injuries aren't legit. Like, I'm training through injuries as I go, and it sucks, but it is just crazy that, they've had like just a few title fights and they don't have any draws. And like these title belts are the draws now in the UFC because most of the fighters don't draw. So, that's like a double whammy on the pay-per-view market for the UFC. So, it was a pretty decent card beforehand, and now that they've lost these last couple of fights, I mean, it's going to put a sour taste in the mouth of people who, bought and paid tickets that know better. They have a lot of people that just, it's the first time it's in Mexico. They're going to go no matter who's on that, card. But it's really a shame that, it's just falling apart like this.
Yeah, there you have it. The eagle weighs in. Alan apparently either chewing tobacco during his answer or still has his mouthpiece in from training. Davey Spears okay. Davey Spears joining us. Sorry about the confusion earlier trying to call in, but Davey Spears, our friend of the show, a co-host on the MMA podcast from time to time when he has time. He's a father of at least 8 children by 4 different women. Davey, welcome to the Word on the Street podcast. What's going on? What do you think about UFC Mexico? Or what, if you wanted to talk about anything, man, it's open mic night.
Oh, man. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your show. And yes, this is Davey Boy's debut on the Word on the Street. All y'all should be listening to us right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's my debut. This is my debut.
Right. Welcome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And this is a good debut. What do we need to talk about?
You can say whatever you want, man. Anything
you're
goes.
Talking about you're talking about UFC Mexico. I mean, I don't see it as UFC Mexico if you really think about it. I mean, what Mexican, what UFC fighter that's Mexican is still left to fight on that show?
Just
I mean,
one.
there's only
Our
one.
hero
Yeah,
and
it's
best
Kelvin
friend.
Gastelum.
Yeah,
right. Our best friend. But I mean, other than that, though, I mean, the whole point of UFC Mexico was, I mean, it's to draw more Mexican fighters, stuff like that, into the UFC and build a market. But if you don't have any marquee fighters to fight on that show, I mean, I don't see how it's gonna really, pick up like, tickets or pay-per-view vibes, stuff like that. Especially if you have Cain Velasquez getting injured and Diego Sanchez apparently now has a knee injury. I mean, well, what else is there? I mean, do you make Kelvin Gastelum, into the main event like Alan was saying? I mean, that would be the most logical thing to do is like make him in a co-main event. But now you got Mark Hunt against Fabricio Werdum. I counted Werdum out when he was facing Travis Bourne. I ain't gonna count him out on this one. I don't see how Mark Hunt can beat Werdum, especially if he's trying to drop like from 340,000 pounds all the way to 265, within like 2 weeks. I don't see that happening. I don't see, and even if he does, is he going to be the same fighter, when he steps in that cage with Werdum? And I don't see that happening. I see Werdum's, jiu-jitsu is way a lot better than Roy Nelson's. And I think Werdum's stand-up is a lot better than Roy Nelson's. I don't think Mark Hunt has a chance. I mean, it'd be awesome to see, but I don't foresee that happening where Mark Hunt goes past the 3rd round with Werdum. I think Werdum's just going to put it on him, especially him blasting himself on the internet saying he's like 300 plus pounds. I don't see that happening. Word on the street.
And if I could build on on that, not only is Hunt going to be a lot more out of shape than Fabricio, who's been in Mexico City for a while now, training with Tough. I live in Denver, which is a mile high. The altitude difference, you can definitely feel. This fight's going to be in Mexico City. That's a mile and a half high. Altitude is going to play a role in this fight, and it's not going to weigh in Mark Hunt's favor.
I think both of these guys are kind of fucked. But Mark Hunt especially though. He's like this guy he got interviewed like within minutes of being notified that this title fight was happening, and he openly admitted to being over 300 pounds currently. It's not easy for a man that weighs 300 pounds to drop to even 265. Like the average person is like, well, that's just going from fat to less fat. No, that's fucking 40 pounds.
And this fight's gonna be 7,400 feet in the air.
Yep. So this information slipping from Mark Hunt is actually, if you're betting this fight, this is very swaying. Like this information is damaging to the odds. But
and just to add into that too, I mean, if everyone remembers Mark Hunt fighting Ben Rothwell, that was actually in Denver, Colorado. You know, and you've seen how gassed both of them are, and now you're gonna put Mark Hunt in more altitude fighting for Fabricio Werdum. It's gonna look pathetic for him.
And he had more time to train for Rothwell too.
Well, let's get to it then. What's everybody's quick take? Who the fuck is going to win this interim fight for the heavyweight title in Mexico, where neither of these dudes are Mexicans? Mark Hunt or Werdum? Jake, Allen, and then Davey.
You know, it's really hard to rule Mark Hunt out because he has pulled off some amazing shit in his career. He has some hands. No one has knocked out Roy Nelson until Mark Hunt landed that uppercut. The second he landed it, he just knew he knocked him out. He walked away. He's got some incredible power, and I'm not ruling out the chance for Mark Hunt to finish the fight on the feet. But Fabricio is going to be in a lot better shape. His striking recently has looked incredible. We all know if it goes to the ground that Werdum not only is the favorite in this fight, but is probably the most dangerous heavyweight in the UFC as far as jiu-jitsu, grappling, and all of that. You know, all of that. You know, the guy subbed out Fedor. So if it goes to the ground, which it very well could. Werdum's going to have a huge advantage. Standing up. He's been piecing folks up, and I have Werdum all day, but I don't want to look stupid, so I am going to hedge it and say, yeah, Mark Hunt could pull off the knockout, but if he doesn't pull off the knockout, Fabricio all day.
I'll count that as one for Werdum. Allen, the Eagle. Who do you think is going to win this ridiculous fight? Do you think the fat man's going to land a lucky punch? That's what it's going to come down to. What's happening?
You know, this whole event is, just surrounded in ludicrousy and ridiculousness. So I'm going to go ahead and say that, yeah, it gets capped off with Mark Hunt with another walk-off knockout. He's going to knock Werdum out. It's going to be retarded.
Damn.
Nobody's going to expect it. And it's...
Hot mic.
It's going to be retarded. You heard it from the Eagle. Hey, Eagle, what is your... Because I'm also a fan of sunflower seeds. What is your process for eating them? Like, are you just shoving, 100 in your mouth and then, just kind of, sucking up the salt and then just chewing through it all and then spitting whatever's left out? Or do you actually crack each one open individually?
Crack each one individually inside my mouth. I put a whole, wad of them in my cheek, suck out the flavor because I get the David's
salt,
Buffalo Ranch flavored
You're getting me aroused.
sunflower seeds. They're just goddamn delicious. And what I do is, just one by one, pop the seed out, spit the, excess shell out on the ground and chew it up on the other side of my mouth.
So you don't even use your fingers to break them up or split them. You just shove a bunch in your side of your cheek like a pack rat, and then one at a time start cutting them open with your mouth. No fingers,
Like
no
a god,
hands.
like a goddamn squirrel, son.
I've never
Like
even
Tuck
mastered
Angel.
that, dude. We won't even go there, man. This isn't that kind of podcast.
Shout out Tuck Angel.
I'll go like rapey and whatnot,
Tuck Hero.
but I refuse to go full homo on this podcast. I refuse.
Follow
Word
our
on
boy
the
Tuck
street.
Angel at Hero Channel on Twitter.
Anyway, wait, did we even? So, Alan, you got Werdum or Mark Hunt? I didn't even know if we. You got
He
Werdum
picked
also,
Hunt,
right?
you dumb.
Oh, really?
Hunter, yes, Hunter gonna win.
All right, so we're tied. One for Werdum, one for Hunt. Davey, who you got? If you had to call it right now and bet money, if you had to be like, look, my 8, 9 kids, they're not gonna be able to eat unless I get this bet right. Who are you gonna place it on?
No, my money's on Werdum. Like I said, I said this earlier. I don't think it's gonna go past the third round. Honestly, I think what Verdum's gonna do is he's gonna grind out the first 2 rounds to make Hunt like just lose all of his energy and stuff. So when he does get in the third round, he's just gonna put it on him. And I mean, and Hunt's power is gonna be a factor, especially in that altitude. I think Verdum's going to be smart, and Werdum has always been, I think, a smart fighter. Besides the Dos Santos fight when they fought and he knocked him out, but I think Verdum's always been a smart fighter, and he's gonna exploit Mark Hunt's cardio, especially since Werdum is in Mexico City and he already knows that altitude. And him going through tape now on Mark Hunt and knowing the fact that him and Ben Rothwell fought in Denver. He's going to exploit that, and like I said, I don't see this going past the third round. It's going to be, I'm going to say submission in the third. One on a straight.
Not bad. So there you go. I'm also throwing my hat in on the Werdum camp. I think he is just the most Mexican, so therefore he will win. And of course, the revelation that Mark Hunt openly admitted to being over 300 pounds, and he only has 3 weeks to train for an impromptu interim title fight in Mexico. It's going to be a lucky punch, if anything, but I'm not going to bet on that. I'm not going to count on it. No one really should, unless you know something about Fabricio that I don't. Anyway, let's fucking move on here. What else was on the list? Chael Sonnen's podcast. Last time I talked to you fools, it was the debut night of Chael's podcast, but none of you had actually listened to it. Now here we are in episode 2. It was with Chris Lieben. First one, of course, with Ariel Hawaii. What are you guys thinking? It's number 1 still with a bullet. The most popular sports podcast on iTunes, podcast 1 with the it's taken over the entire planet. GSP is going to be the next guest. What do you guys honestly think about Chael's podcast? Do you have any gripes or criticisms, concerns whatsoever? What's happening? We'll keep going on with Jake, Allen, and then Davey. Why not? What's up, Jake? It's open mic. Actually, anybody can talk.
Yeah, since the last word, I've actually listened to both of the Chael Sonnen shows. The first one with Ariel, it was sort of ironic because it was the first show, and it literally starts with Ariel making like a two-minute rant. Well, I thought I would be the first guest, and it's a shame that I'm not the first guest because I thought I would be pretty good. And you said I was going to be first, but I'm not.
Son of a
and it turned out he was first. And Chael stops him like, yeah, dude, you might actually be first. We aren't sure if you're going to be first or second. And I don't know. It was sort of fun.
He was like a YouTube commenter.
Yeah.
Wanted to be first.
The second show was a lot funner. Chris Leben, we got an inside look at Team Quest, the most underrated
Hell
coach
yeah, that was
in
awesome,
mixed,
actually.
the most underrated look, or the most underrated coach in mixed martial arts history, Robert Follis. Talking about training with Matt Linlin, Randy Couture, Chael, Chris Leben, the gang that, Chris voicing his thoughts about living in the Pacific Northwest and it raining all the fucking time. It was a really fun-ass show. If you haven't heard it yet, search on iTunes. Oops, I just knocked something over. I don't even know what I just knocked over. You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen. Fuck it. Episode 2 with Chris Leben. It was a really good show.
I have in my possession basically it's like a little flyer. It's not a flyer. It's actually framed in my place. It's a full-on printout of the Team Quest fight logo, autographed, signed by not only Chael Sonnen, by Clayton Hires, Coach Jamie Huey, Scott McCory. And now I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, fuck, I should get this thing out of the case, out of the frame, and send it, not, Robert Follis, Matt Linlin, Chris Leben. I should get it signed by everybody. I should make my mission to add more to this. Get the entire Team Quest. Even Nate Quarry, bless his soul. He was a guest on the MMA podcast. It was one of the best episodes ever. Look it up.
Talked to him for like an hour and a half, yeah.
He was a good guy, man. Good guy, but, a little bit. Yeah, he was rewriting history a little bit, but
the guy,
he was there. I wasn't.
He has one of the craziest stories ever growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, breaking away from his family, saying, he never really talks to anyone that he knew before he was age 17.
You know what? I don't want to throw out a bullshit reference without telling people how to actually listen to it. The Nate Quarry interview you did with the MMA podcast was one of the best. He went on for a while. It was an extended interview, and it was deep. And he talked about the history of Team Quest. He told a few stretchers, but he also told a lot of truths. It was awesome. How can people listening to this right now, Jake, if they wanted to pull that up and listen to it at work tomorrow or while they're being yelled at or trying to escape from their families, how would they actually look it up and pull it up?
Oops, I was muted up there. Search the MMA Podcast, episode 23, Nate Quarry, and it was the 23rd episode of the MMA Podcast back in 2012.
Search on YouTube or iTunes?
Yeah, the iTunes actually we've got a cap on storage, so we've got to sort of just keep it as like our latest 50 episodes.
You should have told me, man.
YouTube.
I got a little scratch.
Yeah, it is way too fucking much. It's like a horrible amount. Yeah, it's
hit me up anyway.
Expensive. Here, I'm searching now. Yeah, if you visit the YouTube channel, the MMA Podcast, we actually have a playlist called Interviews, and you can check out our interviews with Chris Leben, Eddie Bravo, Michael Chavello, Nate Quarry, and the Nate Quarry one I'm clicking on now. Yeah, that went an hour 28. We spoke to Ben Askren, Darren Cruikshank, Michelle Old, Aljamain Sterling, Tim Kennedy, Wayne Barrett just a couple days ago. We've had a lot of fun guests.
Misha Tate.
Yeah, Misha Tate.
John Fitch.
Bang. John Fitch. John Anik. Not John Fitch, though.
John Fitch. Good episode. Davey, I think you tried to say something there. What was happening? What's word? What's going on here, man?
No, I was saying, Chris Leben talking about the Pacific Northwest. I'm actually from Washington State. Love Washington State. Does it rain there a lot? Yes, it does. But that's home for me, too, is the Great Northwest. But at the same time, I kind of got to agree with Chris Leben. Would I want to live there again? Nah, wouldn't want to live there. But yes, I did miss a debut of the Chael Sonnen show. Yeah, I'm in Guam, too. Guam's nice, man. But yes, I did miss the first episode of the Chael Sonnen show. You're welcome. I flogged myself for that one. Blasphemy. But I did listen to it. Fucking awesome. I loved how he ended the show. I loved how he ended the show with the Chris Leben story. So now you have everybody like want to know more about Chris Leben. So like episode 2, what comes up? Chris Leben. And he's telling the fucking most awesome stories. Like, what's up? No, but he's telling like the most awesome stories about his his run-ins with Ed Herman, about spritzing on his friend and their rent a couch and stuff. Insights about like how he goes hard against, how he's trying to go hard against Dane Henderson, and you have Randy Couture playing Captain America. It was an awesome show. But what I don't like about it, and it's the same thing that you tweeted, Ramses, is that it's too short. Like, I wish I could just hear more of it. Yeah, same thing. Like, that's my only complaint on that one. It was under an hour. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I wish I could hear more of this, but it is a great show. For Chael Sonnen to do a podcast like that, who doesn't want to hear what Chael Sonnen has to say? Who doesn't want to hear Chael Sonnen be controversial or say what's on his mind and stuff like that, and not have him apologize for what he says? And going back to episode 1, when he's talking about what he did, leading up to the Vanderlei Silva fight, he didn't apologize for anybody. He was like, dude, I did it. It was my decision. Did I think about it? I did. But guess what? I made that decision. And am I going to apologize for it? Absolutely not. It was premeditated. And I think that speaks for a man to like make a decision, regardless if it's right or wrong, but him not to be sorry for what he did. He knew what he was doing. And I think that speaks a lot for Chael Sonnen, that like, he's a man. He's going to miss mistakes, but he's not going to apologize for it.
Yeah,
Awesome
it's called honesty. That's what it was. 100%, and you don't see it that often, so it was weird when all of a sudden a public figure who's been disgraced, shamed, you expect the normal reaction these days when something happens to a public figure, you're like, okay, we expect and demand an apology, and an apology has to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's what happens every time. It's the procedure. But he was like this. He was saying no.
It's like this. If he didn't publicly apologize in Brazil when Vanderlei pretty much called him out on TV, you were going to get an apology from him. You were not going to get an apology from him for anything.
That's exactly what it was. It was if you guys watched, Davey, you're totally right. If you watched Tough Brazil, Sonnen versus Vanderlei Silva, for day 1, Vanderlei Silva shows up and demands an apology from Chael Sonnen, and Chael Sonnen told him the same thing he told the MMA media. He said, fuck off, I'm not going to apologize. This is actually team no apology. And that's exactly what he stuck to in real life.
Sorry that he's not sorry.
That's right. No apologies if you're not sorry. It's fake and it's not genuine. What is the point? When was the last time you saw a genuine apology from a public figure in the media? They're only sorry that they got caught, and that's all he said. And I agree. And honestly, I agree with this damn point. I've said it numerous times since even before day 1 of this podcast. Modern science and medicine has the technology, has the capability to keep men healthy, keep cells regenerating, keep body hormones at superhuman levels. But by superhuman, I just mean more than the average normal person. All right, I don't mean, it's not cheating to me. Using science to stay healthy and keep your body operating at optimal levels or even more than optimal levels, that should not be illegal, especially since, guess what, everybody? Most of the roster is doing it. That's the truth. But yeah, so Chael Sonnen, he doesn't apologize. It was a great podcast. Second one with Leben, also excellent. But I do agree that is the only complaint that I am hearing about this podcast. Chael Sonnen's podcast, hit podcast, number 1. We demanded it.
Number 1.
He answered. He gave the fans they wanted. It's just too short.
I actually wanted to chime in. Chael kept using the phrase "Leben Stories" on the show, and I thought that was sort of funny because 2 years ago on YouTube and iTunes, I threw up something, the MMA Podcast, Episode 7 clip, Leben Stories. And it was when we had Chris Leben on, and he talked with us about the story he sold to Chael Sonnen. It's about 5 minutes long, and I'll play it right the fuck now. This is from.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we actually just did episode 108. This is from episode 7. This is way back in the fucking day. We started at June 2012. This is July 18th, 2012. Episode 7 clip, Leben Stories. Let's listen to it.
Chael Sonnen
Throwback
was on
Thursday.
the Joe Rogan Experience, and he brought you up for about, I think, 30 minutes. They were talking about you. Chael was talking about how you have some of the best stories out there, and he recapped one of the stories. I just wanted to ask you if you could tell us a story, maybe. I'd love to hear a crazy Chris Leben story, man. If you can think of one.
A crazy Chris Leben story. Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, there really is a lot of them, and
I believe that.
I've been slowly trying to kind of get away from that guy, but it's pretty funny the story says that Chael told. I don't know. Did he mention on the podcast that he purchased those for me?
Yeah, he did actually.
Yeah, that's so funny because I haven't had a chance to hear the podcast. I'm going to have to listen to it.
You have
it's pretty
man.
funny.
It's
He
awesome.
actually paid me for the stories, and I remember hearing him more than once tell him as his own. It's pretty. Chael is an interesting guy for sure.
And so are you, man, and that's why I wanted to hear a story. But he actually brought up the story about how your family hit a deer and then it was rotting, and they told you to test the meat or something, and you got E. coli.
Well, what happened? The story probably a little bit telephone. My uncle had took my cousin on a hunt for kids, but my cousin was too scared to shoot the deer, so my uncle shot the deer and the deer standing next to it. And then they had a Honda Civic, so they pulled up to our house with a deer on the hood of the car, and because they weren't supposed to have a deer on the hood of their car, they left it at my house, and they left it there for 2 weeks. So fast forward 2 weeks, the deer's rotting on my front porch, and me and my brother are grounded as usual. So we're supposed to be we're at home supposed to be cleaning while my mom and my uncle comes up, and they're all out at the bar. Well, they come home after having a long evening at the bar, and they decide that now is going to be the time they're going to butcher this deer. So it was wrapped in a sheet. They unwrap it, and it's covered in these white spots, white stuff. Mold is growing on it. And then my uncle, then it kind of sucked because I just had to clean the house. Well, my uncle throws it over his shoulder, blood's pouring out everywhere because they had skinned it.
Jesus!
They throw it on the kitchen table, and now he doesn't have anything to cut it up with, so he starts using a skill saw to cut the deer up on my kitchen table, and chunks of deer and stuff are flying everywhere, and my mom, being the homemaker that she was, breaks out the meat processor, starts grabbing the chunks and making hamburger out of them, and then it was we had to eat it. Me and my brother did, and long story short. Venison is one of the few meats I no longer have the ability to eat.
Wow.
There was a couple weeks when I was a kid where, probably would have died of starvation if it wasn't for venison, so I'm appreciative of it, but definitely kind of has ruined my taste for deer meat.
That's incredible, man. That is, hearing it from the horse's mouth, no pun intended, is awesome.
That is absolutely wild. It sounds like you have a pretty interesting family. You have any more crazy stories that involve your uncle, or?
There's a few. I got to make sure I'm okay when I go home for Christmas. You know what I mean? Well, I'll tell you, there's another one. He works for a city, and what they do is they store food up on their property because he has pigs and cows and stuff. So he'll get all this food that they were throwing out of like Safeway. He'll go grab it out of the dumpster or whatever, and they'll store it. Well, that attracts rats. So more recently, he was trying to shoot a rat that was running between his feet and shot himself in the foot. And then he didn't. But he's such a tough bastard, and he was too embarrassed to admit he shot himself in the foot. The next day, he went to work the whole day and worked the whole day with a hole in his foot because he was shooting rats trying to run between his legs.
I think I'm starting to feel where this Leben strength comes from. No one can knock you out. Your uncle's going to work with a hole in his foot. That's amazing.
Yeah. So there's other there's some other interesting ones.
All right, Chris.
Oh my god,
That was another Chris Leben story.
That's fucked up, man. Like all of his. So far, the only Chris Leben stories I've heard are ones that involve like some sort of expired or decomposing meat. What is
Whether
going
it's his
on
uncle,
with the Leben family?
Whether it's his uncle's foot that's decomposing, the deer that's decomposing.
Well, he was like, oh man, just like thinking about how that venison had like white spots of mold on it. Like
Oh my
it was
God.
weird. Earlier today, man, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna, just make a dish or whatever. But I had like a bag of limes. I'd gotten it earlier, like 5 days ago maybe, but I hadn't opened the bag or whatever. It's just a bag of limes. I was like, all right, no need to, it should be okay. I opened the bag, and these limes, like as soon as I open the bag, like smoke starts coming out of it, like off of the smoke, dude, like smoke. And I asked on Twitter about it. Apparently, it's just mold smoke. But it was the goddamnest thing. I just opened this bag of limes that had been sitting there for 5 days. They didn't look all fucking moldy or anything like that. They didn't look old or aged. They weren't, it was just, I was like, they look good. So yeah, I'm going to open it. I'm real careful. I'm a goddamn germaphobe. But I opened this damn thing, and then smoke starts coming out of the bag. It was the goddamnest thing ever, man.
Did you
I almost
inhale
prayed
the
again.
mold smoke?
No, man, I dodged that shit, man. I dodged it like Rock. Well, Rocky doesn't really dodge
Because
shit.
now
He
you
just
have
gets
Ebola.
punched in the face.
Like a dumbass.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, it looked like a little, like, gas compression had just exploded. Like, I thought it was the craziest thing ever, man. Smoke. But, what the fuck were we talking about, people?
Chris Leben.
Oh, Leben.
Leben
Yeah,
stories.
Leben, man. Definitely a good guest. But that was another thing. It was like he was cut short. The Chael Sonnen podcast. Chael, if you're listening, it's too short. You gotta just let it ride, let that conversation flow. Obviously, you gotta make cuts here and there.
Can I put something out there really quick?
It's open
Chael.
mic. You guys can say whatever the hell you want.
Chael, if you're listening, you can probably hear the quality is pretty good. Fuck going to a studio, dude. Fuck having to drive all the way to Encita, California, Ventura, California. I don't know where the fuck you're driving to some bullshit studio with a bunch of air compressors and all of that. Look, just Skype us.
Kid.
We will produce it. You can hear us fine. The quality is good. Fuck having studio time and having to cut people off early. Chael, if you are listening, this is an open invitation. I will produce your show for fucking free. You have given me that you have given me that much entertainment in my life as an MMA fan. I will produce the shit out of it. You can hear us fucking fine. Fuck having a studio driving all the way out there. Let's do this thing, CP.
Hell of a resume coming from the MMA podcast, especially Chill. Actually,
damn right.
Listen to this, man. Honestly, this operation here, it's just me plugged in. I have a professional microphone. It's a Shure SM57 microphone. Just plugged in through an adapter into my computer. And then I just get on Skype. And then Jake from the MMA podcast does his magic. He has the technology. He knows what's up.
I'm running 6 or 7 different things over here, but I get it popping. I'm actually only using a headset mic, but yeah, honestly,
and it's excellent.
Like, folks want to say, the difference between this and like $1,000 mic is really big. Honestly, no, it's not, dude. Growing up, me, a lot of folks listening to this show probably listened to the radio. And what quality was that? It was shit. It's not, video watching, The Matrix. You want to watch it in HD, but listening to an audio show, I really don't think the quality, if we sound like shit, that's one thing. But at this level, as long as you can hear what we're saying, I don't think to most listeners it's that big of a deal.
You're damn right. And people, not to say that Chael sounded bad on his podcast. Actually, the mic quality is excellent on his voice.
He's in a pro studio for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely knocking up the bass, which they need to do. And it's not the biggest complaint about Chael's voice is that sometimes he's nasally. We have not heard that so far on the podcast. I'm just being honest, people. I'm not knocking him at all. Trust me.
I think it's just because it's podcast one. I mean, you look and see the talent that they got on that. I guess that company, or whatever. They got Jim Ross, Chris Jericho, Bill Goldberg. Exactly. I mean, podcast one. I mean, they're doing the right thing right now by getting all this known talent where people want to hear what they have to say, like maybe behind the scenes stuff and stuff like that, and they're doing the right thing when it comes to I guess maybe a contract or whatever with these guys. You will, be a part of podcast one. But I had to agree with you on this one, Jacob Ramsey's does Chael Sonnen need to be in a fucking studio? Hell no. He doesn't need to be in a studio.
Hey.
All he needs to do is just pick up his fucking phone and, just go with it.
No, like I'm saying, I just have a mic plugged into my computer, and I just log on to Skype, and that's it. Because of a genius called Jake from the MMA Podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you need to come off Podcast One. Shout out to Podcast One CEO Norm Pattis. We've had back and forth talks, and Norm, if you want to buy this show, the standing price is $1 million, you son of a bitch. But podcast CEO Norm Pattis, no disrespect to him, but I really don't think it's necessary for Chael to have to rent a studio for 2 hours and cut guests short. Just
definitely
call us.
Weird.
Let's do this shit natural. Norm.
Yep, there you go.
Chael
Sonnen, we'll produce your show. We'll keep it going. We'll make sure everything's right. We'll get it recorded. I mean, it's a pre-recorded show, right? So we'll do it for you. No studio time necessary. The comfort of your own home. Hell, you could even at some point, we could figure out, since it would just be a Skype call on your part, could probably figure out a video element to it even. But yeah, podcast one.
Hashtag
you know what I'd like to say?
Waffles.
Yeah, good job to them for getting it going. But I have to say, you're welcome, because us fans demanded the show. And so far, so good. I can't wait. Like I said, the rumor is GSP is next Wednesday on the Chael Sonnen podcast. Definitely some good shit. Let's fucking skip topics
that will
here.
Be.
Cung Lee demands an apology from the UFC after this motherfucker luckily beat them charges like Rocky. He appealed. He claimed, he kicked and screamed, said the steroid test, well, the drug test that he failed, he claimed it was total bullshit. It was a Chinese, he was shanghaied in China. He said the test was bullshit. It wasn't legitimate. They lost his testing sample at the lab apparently. So he went all out. He said, "You got nothing on me." He appealed. The UFC finally caved. They said They said he was right, that we were wrong, the testing wasn't completely legit. But now, Kung Lee's even pressing his luck. This guy ain't done with that. It's not enough that he beat the charges. Now he's demanding an apology, pressing his luck. I was like, oh my God, Kung, man, you should be just thanking whatever God you believe in, but he's demanding an apology. What do you guys think? Jake?
Do you
Alan,
guys realize?
anybody? Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, sorry, but do you guys realize what Kung Lee just did that no other fighter that tested positive
Explain
and got
it.
busted beat the fucking
Tell us.
system? Chael Sonnen couldn't beat the system. You know what they did? They reduced his sentence when he got caught for TRT. Like they were suspending him for a year, and he beat the system and got a reduced to 6 months. Sean Shirk, the same thing. Got busted for steroids, was supposed to be suspended for a year, reduced it to 6 months. That's a win-win in both ends. But Kung Lee, he beat the fucking system. No other athlete in MMA has beaten the system where, like, you're suspended for a year, but then they rescinded it. You know, he should be thanking everybody,
He's a
like, you know,
legend.
that helped him out to beat the system, not going
Yeah,
there
but-
demanding for an apology.
Let's be honest, like, he didn't beat the system. The system was broken and didn't work in the first place because they didn't follow any of the rules that are used by any of the other testing facilities. That they didn't even take a B sample. They didn't keep his sample long enough. I mean, it was almost an embarrassment, you know, that the UFC even used this company when they had access to use like more reputable companies. They could have went and used WADA or VADA. They could have went to, I think, instead of going to Shanghai, they could have went to like another part of China or to, like, I don't know where, but they mentioned it. It wasn't that much further, and they could have got like the official testing done instead of using this, you know, janky ass, you know, backdoor testing. And all he did was his HGH level tested high. He didn't test positive for any particular steroid or any particular substance. And there's like so many determining factors that could naturally, you know, cause you to test high for, you know, for your HGH levels to be high in in the human body. And the fact that this test wasn't even able to pinpoint what he tested for, you know, like, did he take a substance? They weren't able to clarify, yes, he took a banned substance. It's a shame on the UFC, and they owe him all the apologies. Whether or not he cheated, I don't think he did. There's tons of things that can cause your levels to be messed up. All these people were shitting on him. If you look at him the day of the weigh-ins, he doesn't fucking look any different than any other shredded up, ripped up fighter. I mean, yeah, he's been fat for the last couple of years, but that's because he's been fucking injured. That picture that they took where he looks all, you know, freaking steroided up like He-Man or some shit, he didn't look like that whenever he weighed in when he was his most dehydrated. So, point being, you can't prove anything that he cheated. You can't prove, nothing. So, the UFC needs to kiss his ass because they owe him an apology. They fucking, ran his name through the mud. And, it's bullshit. The UFC should have figured out and did all this stuff before they even released the results and issued a punishment. Bottom line.
I think you have a good... Go on, Jake.
Yeah. As far as the weigh-in goes, I think he didn't look as juiced up, probably because he was cycling off. And Alan, I definitely agree the testing was fucked up, and he shouldn't be held accountable for the testing because they were not under the right conditions. But I think most people probably think that he was juicing. This is like O.J. Simpson getting away with murder and then making Nicole Simpson's family apologize for coming after him for murder. Like, come on, Cung got away with juicing up. Let's be fucking serious. The guy was juiced to the fucking gills, and he got away with it. Let's be honest.
No, because then I'm gonna say Yoel Romero was juiced to the gills because he looks the same exact way at the same age.
Yeah, I agree. He's probably getting away with it too.
Everybody's on the damn juice, people. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Nobody's listening. Look,
But at the end
Conley
of
got a lucky
but
break.
yeah, he did. But at the end of the day, but you know who looks a bad? You know who's it's a black eye for the UFC. And it goes back to when this whole TRT scandal happened, where like they ban it, and you hear the UFC is like, yeah, we're all for it. We're gonna test. Especially when we're overseas, we're gonna test the hell out of everybody. With drug testing and make sure they're not on anything. And now they look fucking sorry because all that scrutiny happened with Kung Lee. Now they're reneging basically on their testing. It looks completely bound in UFC, especially them promoting a drug-free sport, and they can't even get that right. They're a billion-dollar company now, and you can't get that right. It looks definitely bound in UFC, and like I would love to hear a scrum from Dana White to explain this, because like I would just love to hear his reaction if there is a reaction, or he's gonna be like, yeah, we fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, still no word from them actually. Just besides the fact that they rescinded the suspension of Kung Lee, which congratulations again. Like I keep saying, to me, it doesn't matter. They should be allowed to take whatever they want. Let's just do this. You know what I'm saying?
Kung
Let's
Lee
just
didn't
have these
hurt
damn
anybody.
fights. That's right,
Except
man.
the
And
guy
of course,
he fought.
right, and of course, he obviously lost and got the shit battered out of him anyway. So it's like, all right, well, apparently being over the age of 40 and taking this shit might still not be enough to win. But credit to Bisbing, friend of the show, good personal friend of mine. I was talking to him earlier today. He's doing fine. Next topic.
Bottom line, really quick, if I could just say one more quick thing. We're seeing enough bullshit with NFL players and concussions and CTE and brain damage and long-term injury. HGH, TRT, testosterone, steroids, all that shit turns it up. And as much as I want to say everyone juice up, that is just not going to lead to good things. It's bad enough that fighters are dehydrating themselves to the point of needing an IV 24 hours before the fight. Man, I'm all aboard them banning TRT, banning HGH, and really cracking down as far as drug tests go.
I completely disagree with you, sir.
I disagree as well. And you said taking one IV. Hung Yu Lim had 3 IVs, and
there you go. That's to my point.
Yeah.
It's
that
bad
shit's
enough.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Cut 35 pounds the week of the fight. Holy shit!
it's
The
fucking
dude
horrible.
looked yellow.
Well, if he was juicing, maybe he'd have
Racist.
less body fat and have to cut less weight. I'm just putting that out there, people. I don't think there's enough research that's been done legitimately because of the stigma put on testosterone replacement
I
therapy.
agree to that.
And
We definitely
steroids, man.
We need to have Chell on the podcast so that he can enlighten everybody as to all of this.
We do someday, but
I've
right now it's
researched
still
the
a
shit
touchy
out of it. I
subject.
would love to talk to Chael about that.
Well, look, all I know is while you're taking it, it helps you. If you abuse it, it hurts you. But that's just like any other substance on earth. If you abuse it, it's gonna hurt you. But testosterone,
I'm about to
I
get
mean-
some Ramses.
yeah. Look at Vitor, man. He's about to get murdered by Chris Weidman because he's not on the shit anymore. Before that, he was a killer. He was looking amazing. He felt great. He was confident. Look at his damn body. And now he looks his age now. He looks like a Randy Couture. If you've seen any recent photos,
He
man.
looks like the
and how is
dinosaur.
that good? How is that healthier?
The way the rules are now are perfect. Because if a fighter is in camp and commissioned and getting ready for a fight, he's going to be tested. But if a fighter is not in camp, if he's injured, if he's trying to rehab from an injury, and that's when, different kinds of steroids can help not to get jacked and knock someone out super hard, but to recover from an injury, you're not going to be tested because you're not commissioned. And that's the way it works currently. And I think that's completely the way it should be,
Someone should have told Vanderlei that then.
Poor guy. That son of a bitch. He came around at the last minute, though, Vanderlei. We used to hate him. He was an enemy of the show. But recently, we kind of forgiven him a little bit. He walked away from the UFC. Sort of. I mean, he was still an asshole, a drunken, rambling son of a bitch. But, I mean, the most that we hated him for was the sucker punch at the brawl, which wasn't actually him. It was his boyfriend. What was his name? Daddy or whatever? Stupid. I won't finish that.
Doo-doo.
Yeah. He's a fancy boy. That's the word I was searching for.
We did have contact with Vanderlei's car in Las Vegas, and I'm just saying, if Vanderlei had put his hand on Coach Clayton or Coach Jamie Huey, we probably would have lit his car on fire that night.
Yeah, man, flipped that thing over, bashed him in the head with a brick like it was the LA riots.
Not saying that we're not going to do it in the future either.
Yeah, if he comes back and steps up to chill, of course we'll do what we have to do. We're Team Sun and all the way, people.
And send him some microtouch ones too as well for a thank you.
Yep. And a sad note, Team Sun and alumnist fighter Tortrong Thor the Hammer has retired from MMA after taking a loss at his last event. Sad to see him go, but we wish him nothing but the best. He was the one Team Sonnen member that we failed to interview from Tough 17 on the show. The one guy that we never got on that competed was Tortrong. And now he is retired from MMA. So we may never hear from him again. He may disappear off the face of the earth. And I'll carry this with me to the grave that I never got a chance to interview and speak with them. And that's a show tragedy, and that's just a fact of life that I wanted to present to you people. Anybody that keeps track of this shit. And I apologize, people. That's my fault. It's my fucking fault. Word on the street. Anyway, moving on. Gentlemen, let's talk about Dana White and Lorenzo visiting GSP. And of course, GSP claiming they didn't come down there to talk about him re-signing and competing again. That's what GSP claimed. Do you believe this, gentleman? Anybody weigh in? Did Dana Lorenzo just fly down to see GSP just to hang out and say hi? What is your opinion? What do you think's going on? Open mic.
I'll start first. I'm gonna steal something from Front Row Brian. Actually, he was on a podcast and he was talking about this, and this made sense. And I actually did my research on this too. Front Row Brian, first off, shout out to him. He's legit in some of the speculations. Friend. Yeah, some of the speculations that he brings up. The UFC is losing pay-per-view buys, and they're losing them dramatically, like bad. So for them to go to where GSP is, going back to camp, back to TriStar or stuff like that, and for them to say that they weren't talking, that's complete bullshit. I mean, of course they were talking to GSP because they're losing all his pay-per-view buys, and now they're desperate to get back GSP because he was a pay-per-view draw. So for GSP and for the UFC to say they weren't talking to GSP to come back to fight and stuff like that, that's complete bullshit. That there is no, they were talking to him strictly as like, hey, we need you back. Period.
Hot take, but probably the damn truth. Jake and Alan, did Dana Lorenzo just decide to fuel up the company jet and spend thousands of dollars just to go and just bump fists with GSP, see what's going on, have a nice light dinner, discuss topics such as abduction. What do you think, man? What was going on with this? Is he coming back?
I mean, obviously, GSP is a big commodity for him, and he's not going to be available to fight forever. He's, getting older every day. So, of course, they want him to fight as soon as possible. And what they're probably doing is talking to him and telling him, I would imagine, hey, GSP, Hendricks and Lawler are going to be fighting pretty soon. We are planning on giving Rory the title shot, but if you want the title shot instead, you will probably get precedent over that. So do you want to give your teammate Rory the title shot and take one fight in the meantime, or do you want the title shot against Hendricks versus Lawler? Because, honestly, what is going to make more money? Rory fighting Lawler or Hendricks, or GSP? Of course, GSP. Zuffa is in the money-making business. They're in the money-making fight game, and that's the fight that's going to make money. GSP coming back, fighting for the title. There's no reason he shouldn't fight for the title, because he retired, I guess, quote-unquote, on a win, and you can call that win a quote-unquote two. Alan and I were there, and Alan and I both judged it to Johnny Hendricks. Crowd noise really can sway judges a lot, and that's one of the biggest ones I point out, and it's a real shame because the fight was in the USA, but there were a lot more GSP fans than Johnny fans there. Back to the point, though. Obviously, they're not just going over there to, clink wine glasses and say, hey, what's up, buddy? They're talking to him about when he's going to come back. He has been cleared. And I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see who gets the winner of Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler. I bet the answer is a Canadian dude, whether it's Rory or GSP.
Well, we might fucking find out when GSP is the guest on Chael Sonnen's podcast this Wednesday. But Davey brought up Front Row Brian, good friend of the show. He owes me a favor. I owe him a favor. It's that kind of deal here. But he did actually, he did clue me into GSP possibly being on the podcast. And also the fact that he might be talking or considering coming back to the UFC. And that might be the leading story next week. That's all I'm saying right now. That's the word on the streets. The cloud starting to form. That's what I'm saying. Nothing is concrete yet. Nothing is solid. It ain't raining that fucking news yet. But you never know. You heard it here first. And honestly, GSP not my favorite fighter, but fuck it. If he wants to come back, I'll check it out. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting at least because it's a plot twist. But his fights to me are nothing but just fluff. I don't think they're real on some level. But we won't even get to that tonight.
I had an edible before this show, and I don't know if this is real. I can't feel my face.
You're damn right. Yeah, I was trying to keep it short. The show should have ended by now, to tell you the truth, people. So we'll keep it. We'll wrap it up
just
here.
Just a bunch of chatty Cathy's tonight.
Yeah, two topics. I didn't expect anyone else to call them besides me and Jake, so thanks to Alan and Davey.
Shout out.
Yeah, the best guys, man. But I did ask on Twitter for some topics, any questions, shout outs, or anything like that. I promised to read them, so I will do so real quick here. Let's see what we got. From, it's coming on Twitter to me. Let's see. Pardon me. From Just Bleed MMA on Twitter, at Just Bleed MMA. Can you mention the delay on the Tate nudes? He's referring to, obviously, the leaked photos that we heard about. Someone hacked Misha Tate's private photos or whatever the fuck. Speaking of the cloud, and they were apparently charging $350 a piece just to take a look at her naked. Honestly, I think if this was legit, I'm asking myself, why haven't they leaked so far? I haven't seen them. I would be the first to see them. She did that ESPN nude body issue. I mean, like, there's not much to even leave to the imagination. And like, where are these pictures? Why haven't they surfaced? Does any one of you perverts here on the line, do you know enough about like celebrities and hacked porno? Like, how does this typically work? Why aren't these pictures available? What's going on? Is there a conspiracy? Was it bullshit? I don't know. I don't know about this world. None of you.
I haven't heard anything about the Tate photos. I mean, I ain't even tried looking. Because, I mean, if they really got hacked, you could go on Twitter and just type in Misha Tate nudes, and you'll have a plethora of pictures of it.
Plethora.
I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm gonna be honest. With you. I don't know. I think I want my imagine. I just want to imagine what they would look like naked. Just seeing it seeing it revealed and stuff like that. It kind of, I don't know. It doesn't do me good. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Hope Solo nudes. You know, the USA goalie. Ugh, those didn't turn out too well. Yeah. And going back, because Ramses, you shot this picture of Misha Tate in Japan at the weigh-ins.
The moose knuckle. She
had the worst case of hemorrhoids I have ever seen in the front.
Pussy hemorrhoids. Is that what
I don't know. I don't know if I want to. It
was
see.
A moose knuckle, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see what's behind that curtain. I mean, I think Brian Caraway. I mean, he has to probably bite down his mouth guard to go down on that. You know, hot take.
Believe it.
I said it. Yes, I did.
That was a hot take.
I said it. Yes, he has to bite down that mouth guard.
The word on the street is that Brian Caraway has to wear a mouthpiece to eat Musha Tate's. Musha Tate's. Oh, Jesus Christ. I won't even finish that one. But you're hearing it first here. That's why you tune into the Word on the Street podcast. He's biting down on a mouthpiece to eat his own girlfriend. Musha Tate. Yeah, the moose knuckle. I was the only MMA journalist and reporter to actively report and pursue that. Nobody else had the courage to ask the questions that needed to be asked, and that moose knuckle. I don't know. It was inconclusive. We'll never know the truth. But everything's pointing to moose. What? Jesus Christ. That was sloppy, man. We'll move on if we can. Oh, shit. I had it on my screen while we were moving on, too. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. So we were originally talking about Dana and Lorenzo visiting GSP, but we moved on to of course, enlarged clitoris of Misha Tate, possibly due to steroid use of some kind. Yes. But we'll, enough of that gruesomeness. Let's move on to War Machine's attempted suicide real quick. Obviously, he tried and failed to take my advice that I offered. I pleaded with War Machine. I'll make no apologies, or I'm not going to deny it. I did. I suggest to War Machine that his best action was to take his own life. I don't believe that this man will ever be of any benefit to humankind or society. I don't think he will reform, or I don't think he can be rehabilitated to where you can trust him around other people. All he does is hurt people. So yeah, I do. When I heard that he attempted suicide, the only sense of regret and sadness I felt was that he did fail. I think that would have been best for him. I hope he meant what he said, that he was ready in his fake-ass suicide note, if whatever the hell it meant. I hope he meant what he said, that he was ready to go. I just, I'm not gonna feel sorry for this man. This guy has made his choice several times. He keeps hurting people. You can do that once maybe, and you can be forgiven. Crime of passion, whatever. This is all he does. This is all he keeps getting arrested for. Arrested. Not in trouble for, you're not hearing stories. He's actually put into a cage and locked up and goes through the whole damn process because he keeps violently hurting other people. And I'm done with him. I don't care if he dies. I just, there's no hope for him. I'm sorry. Some people make the choice too many times and they're beyond saving. Does anybody on this call disagree or have anything to add about War Machine? And of course, chime in on Mayhem recently getting arrested. A standoff with the SWAT team. Didn't get much heat anymore. It's expected. It's almost like old hack. Like you're worried if Mayhem hasn't been arrested, you're like, man, is Mayhem okay? He hasn't been arrested. What's going on? War Machine and
There's
Mayhem.
an
Where do you
old
guys stand?
saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
I'll start first. Alan, you were wrong in the last podcast, man. This question was brought up, who would commit suicide first, and you said Mayhem. Yeah, I think you were wrong on that one, man. War Machine tried to commit suicide first.
Good point.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out. Ramses, I kind of had to disagree with you on this one, man, about War Machine. The thing is, like, I think we're just hearing from other people on what happened when Chrissy Mack and the boyfriend and War Machine were in the room. But we haven't really heard anything from War Machine himself saying that, like, he didn't do it or anything like that. The only thing we were getting was, at that moment, cryptic tweets saying, like, oh, I wish he wasn't there or anything like that. But, do we really know what happened in there? The only thing we could say is, like, I mean, with War Machine's reputation, what we see on YouTube or, any other thing that he does to get himself, like, arrested and stuff like that, that he would more likely do it. But in reality of it all, I mean, who knows what happened, He was also saying that, like, he was defending himself, and there was another letter that leaked on TMZ that he was defending himself or something like that too. That could have happened. I mean, I think deep down, like, we'll never know.
What do you honestly think happened, man?
Hey, let me just chime in here.
Come on,
Let
let's
me
be
make
real.
A joke, because when I defend myself, bitches end up with fucking swollen faces and jacked up eyes and broken bones. Yeah, he was defending himself.
Yeah,
no. I didn't say. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Like, defend himself from, like.
I just tweeted at Mayhem to call in.
I hope he does.
We know exactly what happened. And Davey, I wasn't wrong. I said that Mayhem would be the first one to actually commit suicide. Well, he will be the first one to succeed.
Okay, you got me on that one.
Going technical. But yeah, Davey, man, come on. All right, we give him the benefit of the doubt within the accordance of the law. All right, we don't know what exactly happened. We don't know the circumstances. It's his word against hers. But honestly, as a human being, Davey, what do you think actually happened with this idiot with the history of violence? What do you think actually happened?
I mean, if we're going off his history and stuff like that, then most definitely he had something to do with Chrissy Mack's beating. I mean, actually, he had everything to do with Chrissy Mack's beating.
She was beaten. There's no
she was
about
beaten.
that.
She was beaten, but the other thing too was, like, because I remember, like, reading all of her tweets and stuff like that when it happened, and I forgot who she was talking to, but one of the guys was mentioning, like, oh, they'll get DNA samples and War Machine's gonna get fucking busted, but she even tweeted, like, there won't be any DNA samples. It's like, what? So, like, for me, it's like, so did he really do it or did he not do it? Because you're making it sound like he did it, but you're not gonna be able to prove it. I don't know. In reality of it all, will War Machine will we spend life behind bars? Yes, he will. Yeah, most definitely. Or unless he tries to commit suicide again. I mean, but if you're going off of his past history and stuff like that, if he did it, yeah, then he did. For me, I'd rather hear what his side of the story and what he has to say. That's just me on that one.
Yeah, but
Maybe he'll call in.
the fact that her hair was chopped off and like she ran away from the house like shows that like
Yeah.
that's not a good indicator that he was defending his life and felt threatened. Like when the person, no, and she was totally
She's
completely
still
naked when she knocked on the
recovering.
other person's
Her
door,
face got
beaten.
so fucked.
Fuck War
It's
Machine.
too-
We
it's
need to take him out in a back alley and
Yep.
hang him and get this shit over with.
There you go, people. And and if he wants to do us the favor, that's all I'm saying. Hot take. I am in agreement. War Machine, man. You can't even get this shit right. This fucking idiot. He at least tried to do us all the favor. I'll give him that. But no, I am also team no apology. Sorry, War Machine. You had your chance, is the thing. Multiple chances. Everything that's happening to this man is a result of his own choices and actions after having been incarcerated for years. He still gets out and fucks up and keeps hurting people. Sorry, that's it. You're done. I don't care about you. Oh, I'm not gonna cry. Yeah, you tried to hang yourself and you fucked up. Now you're still posting on Twitter for some fucking reason. I don't know why that's even allowed. They should take everything away from you. You're lucky you have food and water. You son of a bitch. That's all I have to say. That's
You
the hot take.
son of a bitch.
I think this is probably the last topic I have, unless any of you guys have more. The fappening. The fappening. The leaked, hacked folk nudos.
ghost.
The nudos. The nudos. That's what they're called now. The hacked
Nunos.
nudos. They got Misha Tate, Musha. And now they got John.
Tate, that's awesome.
They got John Jones, man. Apparently there's some I didn't watch the Vine video of him like apparently almost exposing himself. He was going full on queer, full on homo, fancy boy.
Hey, Ramses, we actually have a caller, so I will let you field the call. But yeah, we got a caller into the word.
Oh yeah. Callers are always welcome on the
Here
Word
we
Street
go.
podcast. Let's do it. Caller from the 731 area code. You are now on live and on the air with the Word and Street podcast. I do believe that this is justice for Anthony Cumia, but just confirm it for us, man. What do you hear? What do you say? How you doing?
This is Paul, and I wanted to call about Mayhem Miller in prison. Well, War Machine in prison and Mayhem Miller too.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Paul from Texas.
Well, I mean,
What's happening?
I just think that I don't know. Maybe they just need Jesus. I mean, has anyone tried to give Jesus to them?
That is an interesting theory.
What's up?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I never thought about that. Maybe what if Mayhem and War Machine find God and Jesus in prison? Does that even earn them some? Does
They'll
that?
definitely find Jesus because I'm pretty sure there's a Mexican named Jesus.
You damn right. There always is, man. I got at least 2 or 3 uncles myself, man. Justice for Anthony Cumia. Welcome to the Word and Street podcast, man. What do you seriously think, man? Davey wants to give War Machine the benefit of the doubt almost. Not willing to quite call it. What do you think, man? Did War Machine beat the hell out of that girl was his life really in danger? If you had to call it right now, what do you think, man?
No, I think he's guilty.
What about
He spends his life in prison getting fucked up the ass and smacked around by groups of
Hot
people.
take.
Doesn't matter if you're good at martial arts or there's 5 people. in
God,
there.
dog.
We can only hope, man. What do you think about Mayhem Miller, though? Obviously, he doesn't exactly deserve to spend the rest of his life in prison or getting raped up the ass, but he is constantly getting arrested and in trouble. What do you think about this clown? What's his problem?
I don't know what the last charge was. I know it was something related to stalking, but I don't know the validity of it. I think detention more. I know that.
Yeah, it was some weird shit. Like his ex-girlfriend, he was still trying to keep in touch with her son, and he was using that excuse to keep showing up and hanging out. And then she finally just filed a restraining order, and he violated it. Obviously, having no respect for the law. weird shit, man. But Justice, man. Anything else we talked about earlier? We talked about GSP. We talked about the Mexico card falling apart. Anything you wanted to call in and bring up or talk about? Also, Dana White visiting Lorenzo Fertitta, Cung Lee demanding the apology. Chael Sutton's
Aldo
podcast.
Mendez too.
Exactly. Well, what I'm basically getting at is Justice. What the fuck
So
do you
you're
hear?
talking
What do you want to
about,
say?
There's a little bit of a delay, and when I actually called in, you were talking about the fat thing. I don't know when you just began that conversation.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, the fappening, dude. It was hitting John Jones now after supposedly we should tape, but we haven't seen those pictures yet. But yeah, John Jones, he's queering out. I haven't seen the Vine video, but apparently he was like, showing his dick or something and saying like, come and suck it. I don't know. You guys correct me. I haven't seen it.
He's saying like I'm a dirty boy or some weird shit like that, or
was it gay? Like I'm hearing it was gay. Was it like honestly homosexual in nature?
I have no idea. I don't know who he sent it to, but the guy who had it and leaked it was, of course, a guy. Maybe it was. Yeah.
Is anybody willing to admit that they've watched the Vine video, the John Jones queer video in question? Has anybody seen it? It's open mic, guys. It's a Word in the Street podcast.
I call him he covers his mouth like a little fancy boy. I mean, what is that?
They call me fancy boy.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know, man. Is John Jones a fancy boy? I'm not sure. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. He's just super mature. Yeah, he's got great talent. But, goddamn, Jones is seeming fancier and fancier every day.
He's got a wife and kids, I guess.
That never means anything.
Yeah, it's like, if I wouldn't be surprised, this is a little inside, but if Hero had a wife and kids, I wouldn't be surprised he's still queering out.
His name's Tuck.
Sorry, my apologies.
Tuck Hero Hamilton.
Yeah,
Ted
it's
Haggard had a wife and kid.
Yep, it's like a lot.
Ted Haggard.
I do, man. A lot of high-profile celebrities have actually proven to be closet homosexuals. Not that there's anything wrong with being a flaming homosexual, but a lot.
There is something wrong with being a flip chicken.
No,
if you're preaching against it and you're in charge of a mega church, and then you get called fucking male prostitutes and doing crystal meth in hotels, or motels rather, but. Yeah.
We're not going to judge people for being abominations to humanity and their religions and their lives and family and friends. All right? This isn't that kind of show. We embrace, hell, half the people on this call are homosexuals. Word on the street. But, what the hell were we talking about? Oh, John Jones is a faggot. John Jones' Vine video apparently was the queerest thing he's ever released. And did he actually, I haven't seen it, I'm not kidding, did he actually expose his junk? Is it visible in the video? I know he like faggots, but I'm tired of seeing all these queers in the UFC.
Like you want to see it.
I haven't seen it.
I don't, but we're talking about it. It got brought up. It's one of the topics
really
on Twitter.
Interested in seeing John Jones's junk?
I promised the people on Twitter that I would discuss whatever came through.
Word on the
This
street.
is one of the questions and topics. Obviously, I swear to you, hand to God, I have never seen any sort of John Jones Vine video. I haven't seen this one. I just heard that like he like taunts like that he like makes some sort of homosexual invitation, and then he exposes himself.
I've already seen.
He is a faggot. That's the word on the street, people.
Yeah, I was on Bloody Elbow, and the video cut off right before it zooms down. I don't know if the video goes any further. Luckily, it cut off. But yeah, just as our friend Ramsey said on a previous episode, I don't know if he was talking about John Jones, but he may as well have been.
He is a faggot. I don't know where that audio clip is coming from. It's odd times here we're having technical difficulties. Katrina should have wiped that city off the face of the map, in my opinion. See right there, that wasn't me. I don't.
What the fuck?
Oh,
I don't even know.
Up.
There's someone
Play-
hacked like
Play the raw speech.
someone hacked my phone the other day, and now like
It's in the cloud.
while I'm doing the podcast, like he's
For the
able to play.
people.
He's able to manipulate audio clips.
It's
while
mind
I'm on the
control.
air.
Actually.
It is possible that I am just smoking crack and that you are all right. See, that wasn't me. I don't know what that's. See, that obviously, why would anybody say that? Oh, holy shit, how smooth was that, people? See, that doesn't even make sense. The fight was a work. Sometimes, you know, your phone does, like maybe like the Vine video, that's the whole problem with John Jones. It's like, yeah, your phone, you can't claim it was hacked this time because this is a video of you, pardon my language, fancying out. He is, like, honestly, like, I don't know, man. Is he creeping? What's happening? Anybody have any topics? Any MMA, UFC topic, anything that we haven't covered that you want to bring up, people? This is it. Oh, whatever you want to bring up. Go for it before we get the hell out of here. What's happening?
The main event of Aldo Mendez 2. Ramses, you and I talked about it last night on the MMA podcast, but I'm curious what Alan and Davey think about it.
Let's hear it. Aldo Mendez going down, the rematch. He got kneed in the face like a white belt, and now he's claiming he's learned so much from that mistake, even though he was getting the shit kicked out of him beforehand. I rewatched the fight. Does he have a chance? Is this just a filler fight? Mendez, man, they're showing him on unbedded. He's looking pretty confident. His girlfriend's much taller than him with long legs, blonde. Let's comment on all of this before we sign off.
I love his girlfriend.
Yeah, what is her name? Like Amber Heat or something? I don't even know.
Yeah.
God, Amber Rains or something. I don't know.
I guess Aldo Mendez 2, it being back in Brazil, I don't know. I mean, I don't see how. I mean, with the home crowd advantage and stuff like that, I mean that could probably play a factor in the Chad going against that fight against Aldo. Has he learned anything from his first fight against Aldo? Yeah, he could have. Has he been on a spree with knockouts and stuff like that? Yes, he has. I don't think, but at the same time, I don't think Mendez is going to win this fight again. I think Aldo's going to win. And the other reason why I say that too is I think they're trying to work it to where Aldo and McGregor fight each other. Because in my eyes, I think McGregor has a better chance of beating Aldo than he would Mendez. So I think I could smell a work on this one where Mendez just takes a dive and just pretty much lets McGregor walk over him for a title shot for the belt. Because I think you would get more of a draw from Aldo and McGregor versus Mendez versus McGregor, honestly.
That reminds me, UFC fan on Twitter at SamManTX on Twitter did actually ask what's up with the UFC being all over Conor McGregor's nutsack and basically countering to his every move and word. He appeared on the UFC Embedded. He's going to be at the event on Saturday. What the hell's going on with that? Are they overhyping this son of a bitch? Why is he going to appear at Saturday's event? Is it just a clear setup?
They're trying to promote him more, and they're protecting like their key into Ireland. That's how they're going to get the Ireland market. That's where they already got it.
Yeah, what do you think about it, man?
Yeah,
They announced that he's going to
make money.
Yeah, they announced that McGregor's going to fight Dennis Seaver, which is like another setup fight for this guy.
Yep.
What do you guys think about it? Anybody,
I
man?
think you are on his nuts. And
They're just trying to make
he's
money.
He's definitely been given tough opponents, but each opponent plays into his game. Overly aggressive strikers, because he's a counter striker. He's aggressive still. He puts off an offense without having to counter, but his knockout blows are almost always counter shots.
McGregor coming in, honestly, overhyped. What is he doing at the show, guys? Make your prediction right now. Is it going to be a lame in-cage face-off to where he challenges the winner? Like, what do you guys think, honestly, Jake and Alan? What the fuck is Conor being overhyped?
I mean, they're just building him so they can make money off of him. It doesn't matter that he's never gonna beat Jose Aldo. I don't think that he could beat Chad Mendez. It's the fact that they see a money pot. They see an opportunity to make money and to profit from this young fighter, as well as building his name and, paying him a lot of money. So, it's a mutual relationship. It's just like Chael Sonnen, how they, the second Chael, made a name, like they fucking, they started building on him, like they started throwing, shit behind him. I mean, not as much as they did with Conor, but they're just taking advantage of, one of the last guys that's out there that's willing to talk and, put himself out there, like Chael says, and promote himself. And that's just what it all boils down to is money. They're just trying to make money and be a successful business. And, Conor's the perfect tool for them to do this with.
God bless. I'm not buying the Conor hate train, man.
I don't know how he would fare against Aldo or Mendez. Alan, you said it very well. Ben Askren said it well too. Just like, all right, here we go, another tune-up fight against a non-wrestler. Awesome. UFC is just gonna keep feeding him scraps, and they're gonna cash in on Conor as long as they can, because I'm not sure whether he can defeat a guy like Chad Mendez who has top-notch wrestling.
Last topic of the night, people. Gentlemen, I'm glad it's all gentlemen here, because the question did come from Remington King on Twitter at Remboni. The question is, all it said was Kat Zingano's MILF level with a question mark. Let's talk about this. Kat Zingano. It's a female MMA fighter. Let's talk about how hot she is, man. Let's not even discuss her true merits as a fighter or her talents and strengths. Exactly. Is she a babe? Is she a MILF? Would you actually engage in any form of sexual congress with Kat Zingano given the chance? This is the honest and legitimate discussion that we're having on a show of this caliber. Word on the street. Let's start off with you, Alan, man. Would you tap Kat Zingano? What's the word, man? What's happening?
I mean, her husband got tired of it and killed himself.
Oh shit!
So, I mean, it has to be that. It's damaged spirits. And
oh
my
god!
Shit. Oh no! Oh jeez, I didn't expect that one. I didn't expect that one, man. We should probably squelch the entire topic. Anyway, Jake, anything that we missed as far as MMA topics tonight? I do apologize to anybody listening. That was this show is unscripted, unplanned. I don't even know who that person is. It shows me a phone number and that they're calling in. Jake, did we miss anything? If not, where can people find you, and when is the show going live next time? Who do you have? What do you have planned? What's happening?
Yeah, check out the MMA Podcast.com. Check us out on Twitter at the MMA Podcast. We just had Wayne Barrett on. We'll be at Glory 18 in a couple weeks, November 7th, Friday night on Spike. Glory 18 from Oklahoma City. That's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, click the tabs at the top of the MMA Podcast.com for the iTunes and the YouTube subscription. That was definitely a walk-off by Alan. Thank you for tuning in, people. I love the shit out of you. I'll see you next week.
Justice for Anthony Cumia. Where can we find you on Twitter? Where can people talk to you if they want to talk MMA or anything? Opie Anthony. Well, screw Opie. Anthony Cumia. Where can people find you? What's the word on the street?
Fuck Opie.
Justice for Anthony. That's pretty much it. I did one quick thing. Two things, actually. That number, the 512, does not work.
Yeah, tonight it's actually being hosted by Jake. I made a mistake. I apologize to anybody that tried to call the other number. We'll get it right next time, though. Well, that was number one, though. You said you had two. Yeah.
Well, if y'all have 5 minutes, or 2 minutes, rather.
Sure, why not?
Happened.
Yeah.
So, did you hear Jennifer Lawrence claim that it's a sex crime?
What is?
People taking her pictures and looking at them and most likely jerking off. Looking at the pictures because they're nude and because she didn't release them, she said it's
We're ending this podcast on a strong note tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It's only a sex crime if the pictures are of her under the age of 18. And I would stick with that.
Jennifer Lawrence needs to just shut her mouth because she
That's
has
right.
like the worst pictures. Those were terrible.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
What?
Avril Lavigne, dude. Even those didn't look good. It's like she peaked at 16. Like, no.
Hot take.
And you know it was that dude from Nickelback taking the pictures. So you're like just creeped out just looking at him. Ugh. Avril. Get the
Ramsey's probably cut Jennifer's head off and put Katie's head on top.
Yeah, there's no way that's illegal. I mean, if they're out there, they're out there. Who are they trying to fucking kid? It's information. It's ones and zeros at that point. Nah, they were stupid. Her password was probably J Lo or something. I don't feel bad for these people at all, man. Not at all. Not at all. Anything else? Justice for Anthony Cumia.
I believe that's it.
In that case, roll that outro music one more time. Alan, where can people find you and follow you before we get the fuck out of here? Hey, pussy, still there?
Died. Alan,
all
mute
right.
it up. Unmute Alan. If he died, he is on
I think
Twitter.
Alan killed
Westland
himself
Eagle.
because he tried to fuck Captain Zingano.
At Westland
Hey.
Eagle AH.
That's right. Find him on Twitter.
Legal, man.
And I am the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. Thank you for tuning into the Word on the Street podcast. We will be back next Thursday. New time, new topics, hot takes, as always, until the day I die or they arrest me. Word on the Street. God bless you all. We are